Hello, my name is Devontae Gatherite. I will be discussing from the book Reading the Bible with the Founding Fathers by Daniel L Dreisbach. I'll be taking from chapter 5, which is titled, What Does God Require of Us? This chapter describes how the political discourse often includes the reference to Micah 6 and 8. If you're not familiar with Micah 6 8, it goes as follows: He has showeth thee, O man, what is good, and what doeth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. This verse relates to the founding fathers that as humans we have no excuse in regards to doing the right thing, both spiritually and politically, because God has already showed us what the right looks like. But just in case you forget what the Lord requires of you, He wants you to be fair and be honest and to be compassionate of those in distress. Last but not least, He wants us to have humility. Walking humbly with God is by far the hardest thing we must deal with, because we are faced with our fierce competitors, such as me, myself, and I. Moving on into the chapter, there was a consensus among the founders that a self governing people must be a self controlled, righteous people, and a nation must be virtuous if they are able to be stable and prosper. The founders argue how the biblical passage divine instructions on how man and a nation can be righteous. Taken from George Washington's Circular to the States, June 8, 1783, he speaks of the forgotten founding fathers John Winthrop. He mentions Winthrop's sermon upon the ship Arabella when they were coming to America to establish the Puritan community. Winthrop knew in order for them to have a successful colony that he had to model Micah 6:8. By modeling this verse, they will be able to present a model of Christian charity, which he and his fellow Puritans believed would, if practiced in their community, remake political society and establish the New England Commonwealth as a city upon a hill, a beacon and a model politely for the world. As John Winthrop would say, for we must consider thee, we shall be a city upon the hill. And he took that passage from Matthew 5:14 and always was taught to get the understanding of a passage. Sometimes you had to read the verse before it and also the verse after it to get the full context. So starting at Matthew's 5 and 13, you are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it underneath a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand and it gives light to everyone in the house. In conclusion, there was members of the founding generations who believed that the biblical text provided guidance for men and the nations that aspire to righteousness. Today, Micah 6:8 is typically read as a manual for the moral and ethical conducts of individuals. Significantly, however, some founders recognize in this as a passage as a call to natural virtue. A commonplace belief among the founding generation was that both individual and collective righteousness were prerequisites for divine favor and vital to the success of the American political experiment and Republican self government. This concludes my discussion. Thank you.